Hello, this is Michael Osborne with Webucator. In this video, we're going to take a look at the difference between fields and properties in C#. Now, this video is based on a blog post by Jeremy Morgan, and Jeremy agreed to let us create this video showing his solution, which is available as an article on his blog at the URL that you can see here. So let's begin by defining what a field and what a property is according to MSDN. According to MSDN, a field is a private member of a class that contains values specific to that object. Now, fields pretty much almost always need to be private members of the class because we don't want to expose any sort of internal implementation. They might be constants, for example, but they're used for data hiding. A property, on the other hand, is a mechanism, a flexible mechanism for reading, writing, or computing the data of a private field. In other words, properties can be thought of as essentially wrappers around private fields that allow us to control how you access that information and how you update that information. Let's look at an example. I have here a very simple class library project, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to my class library a new item, and what we're going to add is a class, and we're going to call this class schedule, and we'll say OK, or add rather. Now, schedule has within it a private field. This field is of type integer, and it's called _month. Now again, this is private. This is not accessible from outside that class. So if I were to create an instance of schedule, I could not access _month. I want to allow you to access month, but I don't want you to do it directly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in a property. Now, there's a simple way to do this. If you actually highlight the month and right-click on it and go to the refactor menu, you can specify that you want to encapsulate your field, and this will automatically generate my property for me. Notice I've got both a get and a set accessor. So if you look at the code that was generated here, what we're saying is if you read that property, in other words, if you access it like a variable, I will get or return whatever the value is in the _month private field. On the other hand, if you set or pass in a value, if I assign a value to month, what I will do is take the value that you passed in and assign it to _month. Now, initially when you look at this, you think that's an awful lot of overhead for really no big return. But let's look at something cool that we can do. Suppose this integer value represents month, and it should contain a value between 1 and 12. Anything else would be out of range. So I want to ensure that when you access this field, or when you access this, property, that you only pass in the appropriate value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a little if statement here. We're going to say if the value is less than 0 or value is greater than 12, then what we will do is we will throw a new argument out of range exception. Otherwise, what we will do is we will pass the value into the _month field. So you see what I've gained the ability to do here now is to control your access to this private field. The fields are always pretty much private. The property is public and allows me to wrap that field and add some additional code to control the access to that field. Now, starting with C# version 3, there's a new feature that showed up, and this allows us to build what are known as automatic properties or auto properties. Suppose, for example, I have a field and I want it exposed as a property. I don't really have any logic to apply to it at the moment, but I might in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I will put in a public integer day, and notice in the brackets there I just have get and set. So what I've said is this is a property. It's an automatic property. It's called day, and it essentially is the field and the property all in one. Now in the future, if I decide that I want to come back and put in some sort of code to control the set or the get or whatever, then I can do that. It's already declared as a property, and so it's pretty much ready to go. So to recap, fields should pretty much always be private members of classes. They're intended to hide information, so they're internal implementations, so we don't want those visible outside of the class. Properties could be thought of as wrapping a field, and this allows the field to act kind of like a variable, and it allows us to have some control over what is put into and taken out of that field. All right, I'd like to again thank Jeremy Morgan for the inspiration for this video. Be sure and check out his blog at the URL shown here for some additional articles related to C#. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it.